Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott McKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
Okay, what a week. I've got my coffee in hand. Check. As you look at the video, that's a check. I've got my show prep complete and ready to go. Check, check. But more importantly, I've got a couple of great interviews that are going to be taking place in this particular podcast, and that's check, check, check. So we got a lot of covering to do. This has been a busy week for Industrial Talk Podcast. Incredible people coming in contact with, and so proud to be a part of the industrial space. As you know, the Industrial Talk Podcast, this is where we build your confidence in the industrial world. This is where we build your IQ. And then this is where industrial professionals and leaders in their craft come to talk. So thank you very much for joining the Industrial Talk Podcast. I am honored because I know that your time is very special. So thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's get this show on the road. All right. Thank you very much once again. I really appreciate all that you do and that you're out there, because I really would like to be able to provide as much great content as I possibly can. I'm very passionate, as you know, about the industrial world and the people that are in it and the lives that are changed as a result of the industrial space. So really, thank you again from the bottom of my heart. So we had a busy week, and I want to get started right away.
Tailgate Talk number 1.
Okay, as some of you guys know, we went out there and we went on the Mardi Gras parade, and we collected a bunch of beads for a company or an organization called Stark. That's STARC. We were fortunate enough to be able to make that delivery, and we were very honored to be able to do that and be a part of that organization. And so next year is going to be big, but the best part about it when we were delivering, and if you're looking out on the video, which we have a YouTube channel, Industrial Talk Podcast, you'll see the fine paintings that were, or colorings that were provided by some of the people who work there. And so I want to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Chad, right over here, Linda, and David, because they gave me some great artwork for this studio, and I hang it with pride. So thank you very much to those fine people out there.
Number 2.
Okay, this week is, like I said, jam-packed. So the interview that we have with Ted Moon and Mark Peters, Ted Moon is the author of this particular book right here. It's called The Journey, a practical guide to becoming an exceptional supervisor. So in our interview, we talked about that, but they're in conjunction with BIC Alliance and this program called BIC Alliance Leadership Series. The first program that they put out there is called Critical Communication Skills, and it's going to be hosted by Ted Moon. And I recommend, it's industrial approved, most definitely. I recommend that you go out to BIC Magazine, click on events, and look for Critical Communication Skills. Now, once you click on that, you'll find all of the information that you need to make that decision. I highly recommend, like I said, to go out and be a part of that. And small price of $3.95, and you get a chunk of stuff. I know I need that type of writing capabilities, but that is, once again, that is BIC Alliance. This is the BIC Leadership Series, Critical Communication Skills. Go out to bicmagazine.com, find events, and then go into Critical Communication. You get all that information, but the value doesn't end there.
Number 3.
Okay, so let's say you go to that, which I highly recommend again. So you go to the Critical Communication Skills and you learn about great stuff. But at the end, you get a free pass to the BIC Alliance 11th Annual Crawfish Boil, which is, I don't care about anybody, but that would be great to be able to be a part of that. So you take in that class, you learn a bunch of great stuff through that series, and then you just sort of wander on over, and then you start gorging on delicious crawfish. So anyway, that's the 11th Annual. That is brought to you by BIC Alliance, the Crawfish Boil event. And so go on out there. Once again, go out to BIC Magazine, click on events, find the events, and it's clearly delineated there, and so it's ready to go. So we are ready to break into the interview. Now, this interview is with a gentleman by the name of Ted Moon. He is the principal and founder of Launchpad Writing and Research. And I just want to make sure you got his email. He will communicate it, but it's tmoon@launchpad-wr.com. And Mark Peters, and he is the strategic director of development at BIC Alliance, and he has his hands into everything that's all BIC, because BIC is committed to your success by providing incredible information. And so for me personally, I've been very honored to be able to interview these two gentlemen that provide a tremendous insight. The fact that I get to talk to these leaders and learn from them, what a joy, and be able to pass it on to you. So really, thank you very much. So with that, here is both Ted Moon and Mark Peters. How you guys doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Excellent,
Doing
excellent.
great, Scott.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate it. You guys got a busy schedule. I'm glad that you guys are here, that we get an opportunity to talk, and I know that you got some exciting things that are taking place within BIC and the company of BIC, as well as what you do, Ted. What do you do, Ted? Explain to everybody what you got going.
That's a great question. I'm the founder of Launchpad Writing and Research. We're a technical writing and market research firm that caters to the energy sector primarily, both renewables and oil and gas, up, mid, and downstream. And we provide technical writing services that end up in the form of white papers, brochures, articles that end up in publications like BIC Media or BIC Publications. And we also do market research. So we help companies who are investing or thinking about investing in new technologies scope the market, understand who the players are, what are some of the pitfalls and obstacles.
How long has Launchpad been in business?
Launchpad's been in business a little over 10 years. I started it partly when I was working for other companies, but I've been on my own full-time now just about 8 years.
Now, you founded Launchpad, right? And
That's
you're the
correct.
principal of Launchpad. And you said it's been around 10 years. How did you transition from 8 to 10?
Well, it was a slow process.
Yeah.
I think I was working for other publications in the Houston area, and I'd started developing relationships with a lot of companies who were writing articles and doing advertising in these publications. And they asked, "Do you do any side work? We like your writing. Would you consider doing any work for us?" And I hadn't considered it, but I thought, well, why not? So I started doing that, and eventually I reached a point where I had built up enough of critical mass of these clients that I went off on my own at the end of 2010.
That's a needed service. Now, Mark, how did you come in contact with Ted? And give us a little bit about your background with. Now, this is where you got BIC Magazine, and you've got BIC Alliance, and then you got BIC Media Solutions. And for me personally, where do you fit within the BIC family of businesses?
My job title is actually Director of Strategy and Development. I came on board about a year ago to help get back into conferences for BIC, and also to help in custom books, in digital, social media, pretty much anywhere that they needed help in getting into new media in particular.
And now, once again, the BIC it's got a tremendous amount of other businesses. They're I can't say they're silos, but I can say that they do this and they do that, and then you've got an investment arm and all of that stuff. Where do you fit within that structure?
I cover all aspects. I'm involved in the marketing for BIC Alliance, which does BIC Magazine. I am involved with BIC Recruiting, which handles finding job placements for people and placing people. I'm involved with IVS and investment and doing the marketing and getting the information out about that. And the newest group, BIC Media Solutions, I'm involved with them pretty much on running the operations in cooperation with Earl Hurd, the founder of all of the BIC products.
See, and I got to let everybody know out there, if you have any, this is a great location to find information that is specific to the industry. You got BIC Magazine, you got BIC Media Solutions, which is new. They got a lot of great stuff happening out there. And of course, anything that's dealing with the industry, I highly recommend that you go out there, and it's a great source of information. Now, between you two, tell me a little bit about how you guys got in contact with each other, and what are you pulling together?
Well, I've known Ted for probably 8-9 years. In my previous position, I actually tried to hire him, and he didn't want to come with me.
Cost you too much?
Yes,
You just said
pretty
it's like,
much.
Yeah, let's just cut right to the chase. I know what that means.
I was just starting Launchpad.
You didn't like him. It was like,
No, not at all.
couldn't afford
Mark's
you.
a great guy.
And then when I came on board with Earl and BIC, they were working already on a book with TDS and
Who? You guys were already working on a book?
I was already working on the book. I had already been working with BIC, and we'd started a conversation with Earl Hurd, who was the founder of BIC Alliance and BIC Media and all things BIC, in the fall of 2016. And he had an opportunity with a client, longtime client of his, Barry Hardy, who's the founder of Training and Development Systems here in the Gulf Coast area. And Barry does training of supervisors and management people in refineries, petrochemical plants. He's been doing this for a long time. He's very good at it. And he has his own background starting out in the industry as an operator and a supervisor.
Yeah, he's the founder of Training and Development Systems, Inc. That's TDS, and that's Barry. Got it. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, let me ask you this, and I'm going to jump right into it because I want to get into the meat because I'm excited about what you guys have produced in the book called The Journey. What? The Journey?
It's called The Journey, a practical guide to becoming an exceptional supervisor.
And now you're working in conjunction with BIC, right? To promote it, of course, and to really communicate why this is so valuable. Is it really geared toward the petrochemical, or is it cross industry? It doesn't really matter. Does it focus on petrochemical?
Well, by nature of Barry's background and his business, I think initially the quick answer is yes, it's geared toward petrochemical and refinery. But in actuality, if you read the book, you'll find that there are a lot of tips and techniques about being a first-time supervisor of a crew of people. And these tips and techniques are applicable to just about any management situation. It doesn't have to be in a petroleum setting. It doesn't have to be downstream.
So it's good. So the listeners of the Industrial Talk podcast who are in the, let's say, the chemical world or the construction world or whatever, they can gain value from this particular book.
That's correct, because a lot of what we stress here are what I think are commonly and probably unfairly characterized as the soft skills, right? And I think, especially after working on Barry with this book, these are anything but soft skills. They're vitally important. These are the skills about dealing with situations, dealing with people.
But I've got to jump in. How does this differ from all the other type of books that really address that type of topic? Why is it because this focuses in on an industrial type of platform as opposed to, I mean, there are a lot of books out there.
Yeah.
Why
Sure.
did you come to the determination that this book needed to be written? And I think we had a conversation specifically about there's changes that are taking place within the industrial space, and there is a necessity to learn. What sort of brought you to that point?
Well, you're absolutely right. I think, as a lot of our listeners probably know, the oil and gas industry is coming out of a major downturn from the past 2-3 years. They're seeing some signs of life now, but during that downturn, a lot of very talented, very experienced people took that experience right out the door and left, and they've retired. They're not coming back. So what we have now is younger, less experienced people being thrust into management positions, in some cases for the first time. And they don't know what they don't know. So the purpose of the book really was to help give these new supervisors a head start. Give them some tools and techniques that they could use quickly. They could draw on other people's years of trials and tribulations and ups and downs and learning on the go, learning as they went, and sort of distill these learnings down into a book that's very easy to read. It tells the story from the perspective. We start with a new first-time frontline supervisor who just last week was an operator. He was one of the guys. And now he's been promoted to oversee these guys. So his relationship has changed with these people. And he develops a relationship over the course of 6 months with a more experienced manager, someone who's been in the industry for a long time, was in his shoes at one point. And he helps him along this journey to understand what it is that he needs to think about and consider.
So the communication element associated with that book is more a story as opposed to the,
That's right.
Okay, today we talk about this and these are the points that blah, blah, blah. It's more in a storytelling type of format. Is that correct?
That's correct. We didn't want to write a textbook. There are a lot of textbooks.
See, that's a
out
difference.
there.
That is good, and people can relate to that, and I really like that. That's good because I have not received my copy, signed copy, and maybe it's in the mail. Is it in the mail?
I think it's in the mail.
It's in the mail. This is my signed copy of my book.
Yeah,
and
darndest thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Kinda.
Hey, Mark, why is this important for BIC?
It's important to BIC for a lot of reasons. Earl, the founder, was originally in training in refineries. He loves helping people grow in their positions, helping them understand a lot of the day-to-day operations we have at BIC and weekly operations and monthly are built around the training side and how can we help individuals grow. So it became important to us. It continues to be important in the magazine itself. A lot of the articles that we present are about how you can grow as an individual in your position, what your employer wants from you, and how you can help your employer reach their objectives.
The thing that's really interesting to me, and I think you touched on something that's really important, and I think there's I believe a genesis that's taking place within the industrial space, and recognizing that there is a slew of individuals that are, and unfortunately we do this really well here in the United States, but a slew of individuals retiring, right?
Yes.
And there's less, to a certain extent, less focus on training. It's just because, well, we've got to keep this plant up and running, and so you get tapped to be the next big thinker, and you're not skilled at that. Now, are you seeing this particular book program, what your alliance is bringing about? Because here's the gap that I see, or possible gap, is that this is great stuff, no doubt, great stuff. But the challenge that I see is that you get the existing management saying, I see the value and I want to, put it into a formal formal process. Mm-hmm. And is that sort of what you're seeing as like, okay, this is just a book, but we're looking at something much grander to be able to prepare these younger individuals to have successful careers within the management space?
That is going to be our next joint venture with TED. Is we have a conference workshop coming up on April 4th, which will be on critical communication skill. It's the beginning of a new series of conferences and workshops that we call BIC Leadership Series. And this, I'll throw back to Ted so he can talk a bit about some of the topics being covered, but it is essentially a continuation. New people into management, how can they improve their communication skills?
Okay, we're going to take a break right now. That's a good time to break. Appreciate you joining the Industrial Talk Podcast. We're going to get into really the nuts and bolts associated with what we're talking about in the book. Truly appreciate your time and really enjoying this conversation. So stand by. Thank you very much.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
All right, you got to mark your calendar for April 23rd through the 27th. And this is a reliability conference that is in Las Vegas, Nevada, brought to you by those wonderful people at reliabilityweb.com. It will have all of the great vendors that are there that are really focused and passionate on reliability, as well as the great content and education. It never ends. Those folks at reliabilityweb.com do a great job. Now, I will be there just like I was at the IMC 2017 conference in Bonita Springs. So if you missed that, and that was in December, you need to make this one, and it is April. Once again, April 23rd through the 27th. This is in Las Vegas, Nevada. Go out to reliabilityweb.com. Get all the information you can about it. I will be there. I hope to see you, and you have a wonderful day. All right, we're back. Industrial Talk coming live. Well, I can't say live because it is a podcast. So we're broadcasting from the BIC Houston office. And once again, I got a couple of great people that are really getting into some details associated with their book. And it's Ted, and he is, once again, the founder and principal of Launchpad. And Mr. Mark Peters, and he is the Director of Strategic Development with BIC Alliance. And we had to clarify that because BIC has so many irons in the fire and so many opportunities. So once again, go out there to BIC Magazine, BIC Links, and find out more information about that company because they got it going on. Okay, in our break that we were talking a little bit about, I'd like to get into more detail, Ted and Mark. I want to get into why that book is so important for the industrial listeners and why they need to get that book and why they need to attend that seminar. Okay, so Ted, give me three to five reasons why that book is important and why they need to get it.
Okay. Well, I'll probably stick with three, and we've alluded to the first one already.
You're cutting everybody short there. I mean, I was
well, I had
for five.
I had 15, but I've decided to take.
It's an odd number. That's a good number.
Yeah,
trust me.
The first one, and we've kind of alluded to this earlier, the idea that, you know, the industry's coming out of this downturn, and a lot of the brain trust has gone out the door, retired, not coming back. And
they don't want to come back.
They don't want to come back. They've been through enough downturns.
Yes.
That was their last downturn. So they have to backfill these supervisor positions, these management positions, with people who are sort of thrust into the position. They don't have the grooming. They don't have the experience. And sometimes they just don't have the knowledge. So the book was geared towards helping a frontline supervisor, in this case, in the book, someone who's been an operator for a number of years, but now he's no longer just one of the guys. He's managing these guys.
He's been tapped.
He's been tapped. He's done a good job as an operator. He's very good, and he's been promoted. So when we start out the book with him sort of the deer in the headlights situation where he doesn't know what he doesn't know, and he doesn't know necessarily how to find all the answers. And he's lucky enough to have a manager above him who takes him under his wing and over the course of 6 months teaches him the ropes. So the book, getting back to that, it's geared toward these new supervisors who have to really hit the ground running, gives them the tips and techniques to get there and to start making a difference pretty quickly.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt here real quick. It don't mean to, but this augments existing, because we were talking specifically about companies, they have a training management program, and this is designed to truly just augment their existing program. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we make a point of it a few times in the book. We're not trying to overtake any company's existing training and management guideline, management philosophy. Those are all very good. Anyone who works for a company should follow those first and foremost. All we're trying to do is offer a supplement, offer some tips and techniques that are proven. Barry Hardy, the author of the book with me, experienced these things firsthand when he was a new supervisor. And we've had, during the course of the writing, we had some of Barry's colleagues. These are experienced managers in various plant situations in their own right, review it and offer their feedback.
Okay, so that's one, and try to Look, you alluded to it in your book. You said, "Hey, okay, there are some really concrete. What is a concrete? Tell me what I can do today as a new supervisor that's been tapped, and I've got the deer in the headlight look. Tell me what I can do today that will change my life and help the individuals who are listening to this show. Like, okay, I got it. Tell me that one thing."
Well, there's a chapter in the book, and it's called "Get Square with the Crew." The idea here is that, yesterday you were one of those guys, but you're not one of those guys anymore. And your relationship with these guys is going to have to change. And the operators are going to have to know that. They're going to have to know very clearly what you expect of them, what you expect of the process that you're overseeing, what their roles are, and then what they can expect from you as a manager.
So do you define that in the book? Like, okay, this is day one. You've been tapped, and now you got to go back to the crew that you were hanging out with and tell them that you're the boss.
That's
and
correct.
then I need to make sure that I gain some level of respect, but yet still maintain that 10, 15 years of camaraderie.
Well, it's a tricky thing because as we state in the book, a new supervisor, you might have been quite friendly with some of these guys. Maybe you went over to their house every week. Maybe you went out to the bar after a shift. We're not saying that you can't do that, but you have to be very careful about how that works. And you can't play favorites in a plant situation. When you're at work, you're at work, and everyone has their role, and they need to know that. You can't play favorites with a guy who's been your buddy when you're at work. And that can be difficult for people to navigate. Mm-hmm. And there can be situations when, unfortunately,
right,
you were friends with somebody one day, and then the relationship changes. They can't handle you in this new role, overseeing them. And you've
that's
got to
interesting.
be prepared for that.
So the first point is retirement's going to happen, and how do you maintain continuity within your organization? And you got new supervisors that are trying to be leaders. Mm-hmm. That's one. And then I guess number two is now that I've been tapped as a new supervisor and I've been hanging out with these guys, how do I get square and how do I develop that level of respect, trust, the right, standard stuff from a and what would be the third? I mean, you're talking to me, and I want to be able to have my good relationship with Mark Peters right now, and I want to make
right,
sure that he understands that a lot of retirement people are happening, and I'm going to be your boss, and right, I want to make sure that I just need to know. So what's number three?
Well, number three, I think the people, although we initially wrote this specifically for a frontline supervisor, a new shift supervisor, the managers above that supervisor can get, I think, a lot of insight into what their supervisors know or don't know about a situation. There are the soft skills that we alluded to, the dealing with people and managing people. But then there's the managing processes.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because here I am, and I get tapped, and my manager says, "Hey, you're the new supervisor, or super, or whatever," and but I just come from the perspective I'm trying to fill a hole, a void, right, a vacancy of some sort because my other guy retired,
right,
and I don't have an appreciation for that. Do you guys sort of expand upon that in the book?
We do actually. There's a mindset that if you're the supervisor of your unit is your universe, and your responsibility is to make sure that unit runs at peak efficiency as quickly as possible, maximum throughput, and not go down. Now, what we discuss in the book, to really be truly exceptional as a supervisor, you've got to not only look at your plant as not a universe, but maybe a planet in a solar system. And the solar system is the entire plant. And there are other planets, there are other units, both upstream and downstream of your unit. And you as the supervisor, yes, certainly day to day you're responsible for that operation of your unit, but you need to understand how changes to your unit might impact other units, upstream and
Okay,
downstream.
so I see the link. Okay, so what we have is we have retirement impact. We've got some getting square with the crew, and you give the tools and techniques or at least direction on how to do that effectively. And then, of course, it provides insight to management, not just to sit down and throw somebody out. Because one of the things that bothers me is that you don't want to set people up for failure. You want to set them up for success, right?
Absolutely.
And that just sort of is a good segue into BIC and BIC Alliance and the BIC Leadership Series. Mark, this book sounds like it's got a lot of great information, and then you'd like to sort of expand that into more of a leadership series just because you want to augment, you want to provide tools and techniques for people to be successful. Explain a little bit about your vision of the leadership series and why it is important for management, supervisors to get out there and be a part of that.
Communications, the first part of the BIC Leadership Series, is vitally important for management, for people that work under you. Clear communications, and most of it is done in the written word, either email or request for proposals or a report even that you're preparing for your bosses. And you can end up appearing less intelligent if you don't write as well as you should. And
that's my life. You just sort of summed it up right. Now I'm humbled. Go for it there, Mark. Keep going.
So what happens is most of the people promoted within this industry come from a technical background. It may have been 10, 15 years since they had an English course or any type of training in writing.
But here's the challenge. I come in the world of bullets. I communicate in bullets now. In fact, I interface with my family in bullets. Okay, here we go. We're going to be doing this, and this. Good luck. And that's about as warm and fuzzy as it gets. But that's what we live in.
I didn't say warm and fuzzy. I said communication. So you have to communicate clearly and lucidly in those bullet points too.
I'll tell my wife
and that doesn't always work that way, as you know. But this was developed essentially from an idea of Ted's. He has done similar type workshops around the area. So I'll toss it back to Ted a little bit to sort of clarify some of the topics that will be covered.
Oh, I'm not going to break up. I've got to keep some sort of continuity here real quick. We're going to talk about that. So we've got communications, right?
Right.
What's another point that the reasons why they need to be there?
Oh, why they need to be there?
Yeah, I want to make sure that they know that they're going to get incredible value out of participating, long-term value on that. I got communications.
Okay, you got communications, you got writing skills, you got clarity of thought, because you can't write correctly unless you think about what you're going to do first. And all of these are topics that we'll be looking at and trying to help people. And a critical aspect to me that I've noticed so many people fail at, particularly when it gets to emails, is the tone. It's very easy to send an email that doesn't convey any type of warm fuzzy and causes an immediate pushback reaction from people.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea. I've never had that happen.
Happens to me all the time.
So that's going to be the series. That's going to be. There's an event that's coming up, right?
That's the event coming up April 4th.
And those are going to be some of the topics that you're going to be covering on that?
That is correct.
And everybody gets is there going to be food there?
We will be serving a light lunch, but if you attend, we also give you a free pass to our crawfish boil.
And that is a mic drop, baby. I go to the crawfish boil. Now, Ted, I'm going to be switching back to Ted over here. Now, Ted, you brought up some good points, and that's going to be the part of the program, right?
That's right.
That and how long is the program going to be?
We kick off at 9 a.m. and we run through with lunch, run through till about 1:30, 2 o'clock, something like that. So it sounds like a long time, but there's going to be a lot of back and forth. There are going to be some exercises, and there'll be some breaks.
Is the book a part of that? Are you going to reference that, or is this a separate sort of?
This is a largely separate thing, although we have discussed the possibility of doing a book signing to coincide with the crawfish boil.
Like my book that's coming in the mail, just signed by the author.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
I just want to make sure.
Exactly.
The other thing too is so if I go, because I've never experienced any problems with my emails. However, if I did, so when I leave, I'll have a greater appreciation for clarity of communication, proper writing techniques, real nuts and bolts type of solutions that will improve me as, I don't care, a manager, supervisor, frontline, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Communication with my wife and family and kids, as all that good stuff, right?
That's right. I mean, the way I think about it is anything that you're communicating to other people is a form of sales. You're selling an idea, you're selling a concept, you're selling your expertise to an extent. So if you come across without a lot of clarity in your communication, without really a lot of thought, with a lot of typos, I don't know about you, but if I get an email or something with a bunch of typos in it,
it's Microsoft's fault.
That right, exactly. But there is a tendency with immediately that person drops down a little bit. It's like, oh, okay, they misspelled the or something, And I'm not trying to be.
Sorry for laughing, because if you ever get any emails, now I'm going to write an email to you, and I'm going to have my wife come in. Hey, can you just sort of do this and look at this email, because it's going out to Ted, and Ted's going to be.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to be knocked down. I'm on a pedestal.
Exactly.
I'm not going to be knocked down.
Right. Well, and let me just say, I do it myself. There are plenty of times I've learned the hard way the importance of proofreading an email a couple times just to make sure you haven't misspelled the word. But really, it's just. What we're trying to communicate here is, everybody's busy. We're constantly busy. We're pulled in all these directions. But if you want to communicate, especially via the written word, where that's you don't have nuance of your tone. You can't explain what you mean verbally as like you're having a verbal communication. Everything you want to convey is there on the computer screen or on the page. So you have to make sure that what you're communicating is clear, concise, it gets your point across.
We're running into a time block right now, so we're going to have to wrap it up. However, okay, we got two things that are taking place here. We've got a book. We got a book that is vitally needed within the industrial world. It crosses multiple platforms, and we've got an event that is put on by BIC Alliance. And it's a leadership series, and it's about communications, clearly writing, having the tools and techniques. Both are tremendously valuable, okay? How does anybody, okay, I'm in like Flynn. I'm committed to you guys, and I'm going to have that book. I'm going to read that book, and I'm going to be out there, and I'm going to learn how to write and not make my people mad. Anyway, what do I need to do? When's the conference?
April 4th at South Shore Harbor.
That's April 4th, South Shore. Okay. And do you guys have a link to that?
Yes, we do. You go to our website, bicmagazine.com, and click on the events, and it'll lead you right to it.
And what's the name of that event?
It's Critical Communication Skills.
Critical Communication Skills. That's April 4th. I can go out to BIC Magazine. I can go to events. And then I can find the Critical Communication Skill Workshop. Now, I want the book. Where do I go?
TDS, Training Development Systems, has a link to it on their website. It's a form you fill out electronically, and they'll send you a copy.
Are you guys out there on Amazon? Because I'm an Amazon guy.
It is not currently on Amazon. Okay. I don't know what their plans are for that, but if you either take a look at their website or just give TDS Houston a call. I'm sure they'd be happy to.
So what we've got go out to TDS, and we'll get. You can go online. I'm sure I'll have all this information out on industrialtalk.com, right. And I'm going to encourage BIC Magazine as well to have some information out there as well for the book to get there. Now, I want to get in contact with you, Ted. What do I do? You personally, not just the book, but you personally, because you dazzle me. I want to talk to you about that.
Well, that's very nice. The best way probably is just via email. Shoot me an email at tmoon, so that's TMOON, at launchpad-wr.com.
Okay, we got to remember that dash in there. That's launchpad wr.com. That's T-Moon. That's Launchpad Writing and
research.
And research. There it is.
That's
that,
the
Jeff.
W and the R.
And how do you get a hold of you there, my friend Mark?
Easiest way, send me an email, mpeters@bicalliance.com.
Very good. Very good. I'd like to just thank you for your time. I'm really personally, I'm impressed with the book. I'm impressed with the training that you guys have got. I highly recommend anybody that's out there. You've got to participate in this particular event. It's gonna be great, and you get a book that is. I'm looking at it. It looks like it's well written and all that good stuff. So, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time. You got a great office here. It looks great. I like it a lot.
Thanks, Scott.
Hey, thank you. Have a wonderful day. Okay.
Thank you. It's been
Bye-bye.
fun. Take care.
Hey, once again, this is Scott McKenzie with Industrial Talk. If you like what you're listening to, please feel free to sign up for the free podcast as well as the blogs. I'll try to keep it all relevant to your business and hopefully be able to provide some insight into what we do at Industrial Talk and what you do as a professional. Hope to see you soon. Thank you. All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Mark. Definitely for being a part of the Industrial Talk podcast. Really appreciate what you were sharing to all of the listeners. And before I go, remember, The Journey, a practical guide to becoming an exceptional supervisor is out there. Get yourself a copy at tdshou.com. Look for leadership-book. Get yourself a copy. You will not be disappointed. Thank you to our sponsors. That's Leaf Services, LLC, PQ Group, and Kosmeyer Marine. Thank you very much for being a sponsor, and as well as our strategic partner, and that would be BIC Media Solutions, BIC Alliance, and BIC Magazine. And truly appreciate your commitment to this particular podcast. Thank you very much, as well as our strategic relationship with ReliabilityWeb.com. Anything that's reliability related, you want insights, you want to find out the leaders that are within the industrial space and specifically with the reliability focus, asset management, you can't go wrong with those folks. So thank you very much. I appreciate the commitment to the Industrial Talk podcast. I'm so honored that you guys are here. Remember, go on out there. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. We've got a YouTube channel. You'll find everything out there, and definitely go to industrialtalk.com for all the latest. So thank you. Have a great week, and I will talk to you soon.